Okay, so today I'll tell you a little bit about how we came to question whether or not our son had autism, and some things that were kind of red flags, if you were, for us. So we had, I'm going to use average because I don't believe in normal. Every kid is different, but from what I knew the average child to be, he seemed like the average child when he was a baby. He walked when he was, took his first steps about, I think, 9.5 months, maybe 10. He was walking at 10 months, like taking steps. He said his first word 2 days before he turned 11 months. His first word was kitty. It sounded like so that was fun. But, he crawled on time. He walked on time. He talked on time. He's loving. He's so sweet. About the time our daughter was born, he just turned 3. His birthday is October 4th. My daughter's birthday is October 12th. So a month or two after we brought her home is kind of when it really started. And I think that the reason why it started is because I wasn't able to devote all of my time and attention to the corrections, and me not having a lot of background with children, I didn't really know at the time that what I was doing was any more or more atypical than what I would have done with a child that maybe didn't have autism. So there was constant redirection, constant, gentle, and again, from what I see other parents in my mom's club and other parents just in general on the playground, they don't seem to have to constantly redirect the way that I did and do with Jackson. So from an early age, about 1.5, I would notice that when we went to a playground, he would not interact with the kids. He would to a point, but he was always side-by-side play. Always, always, always side-by-side play. Even as he got older. And again, a lot of this, again, the average kid that I knew at the time did them, just maybe not to the extent. So he didn't understand the way to play with other kids, and that's actually a huge thing that we're kind of dealing with right now and dealing with helping him. Didn't know how to play with kids. He wanted to. He always wants to. He's so excited. And so that was like the biggest thing, is he didn't know how to play with kids. He had an interest, but he didn't know manners. He didn't know sharing. And I was a stay-at-home, I still am a stay-at-home mom, but even up until I had my daughter, I was always home with him. So he would, always got the constant manners redirection, say please. What do you say when somebody gives you something? You say thank you. So I was constantly redirecting him. He just didn't seem to grasp it the way that the other kids that we knew were grasping it. And he potty trained when he was 3 months away from his 4th birthday. So he was almost 4 when he potty trained. And he knew how to go on the potty. He just couldn't stop playing long enough to go to the potty. And from what I've heard and read, that children with autism often potty train later. He lines things up in a row, loves to watch trains. He puts his head on the floor and he watches the wheels of the train. He's very set in his routine. He gets very upset when we don't understand what he's trying to say. Completely understandable. I think we all get upset when we're not getting our point across. Those were just some of the early red flags, and actually over the last 4th of July weekend in 2015, I was down in Coronado, California with some friends, and one of our friends, Dave, he kind of pulled me to the side and he said, because I was explaining some of my frustrations, and, it hurt me to see that he didn't have friends, he didn't play with other kids. And Dave pulled me to the side and he said, have you ever thought about getting him tested? He's I mean, he's super smart. He was thinking that maybe Jack might have Asperger's, and we actually decided to get him tested after that, and lo and behold, through Kaiser, it turns out he is high functioning on the autism spectrum disorder. So he's verbal. He can communicate to a point. He can't always get it from, I think I've said this last video, from his mind to his mouth, but he can. I mean, he says full sentences, he talks very well. He can write his letters, he can read letters. I don't think that he can read words. He can count to 2010, and he's so sweet and he's so loving. He has such a hard time with playing with other kids, with articulating what he needs. He gets hurt at school. Like, he had a bruise yesterday right here on his chin, and Jackson ended up, I didn't know, but he bit another child, but I do know that he had gave a little child a little scratch right there. Come to find out later, when I asked Jackson about the bruise, it's because these kids were playing zombie. Jackson doesn't know the difference between playing a game and real life. So he doesn't understand why they're biting him and he can't bite them back. Even though he doesn't maybe realize that it's harder that he bit. I don't know if he left a mark on the other kids. I have a hard time with him playing tag. I've tried to tell the boys after we get out of school and we play at the playground, you can't play those games with Jack. He doesn't understand the difference between playing hitting, playing pushing, and real life. He just can't separate it. So that was kind of some of the things that tipped us off in the beginning that he might have autism. Our friend Dave kind of vocalized that maybe that's what it was, and then we got him tested. It was we went in, we have Kaiser insurance, so we went in and they had an all-day test. I think we got there at like 8 a.m., and then it ended at, I think, 2 p.m. So they did all of the tests at once. They did a psych eval, they did occupational therapy, they did speech. Again, testing him to see what his strengths are, what he needed help, and about his medical history. The one that he needed the most help was the psych eval, where basically they played with him for an hour, and they, tried changing the game, because a lot of kids, I guess, with ASD have a hard time transitioning from one activity to another. He's overexcited. He doesn't know how to express his excitement. He was having a hard time role-playing, and so that's what he had the hardest time in that test. And then after that test, we went out about 2 weeks later and got the results. And then they referred us to a company called Easter Seals, who, again, had their process of testing him to see what kind of programs he needed, and he just started that in February. He had his case manager, and now he's working with an BI for his ABA. I will explain that next video, what all of those mean. But that was just some of our kind of early history that is coming to mind right now in why we got him tested, and some of the signs that we had, and some of the strengths and weaknesses. I don't know. I don't want to call my son weak, but things that he needs help with. So I will see you guys for my next video and explain maybe the acronyms and maybe explain some more of the testing process and the therapies that he's going through now. Talk to you later. Bye.